Welcome, everyone, to the Overseas Famous podcast. I'm Kevin Owens, and we have a player profile today, Eugene Campbell, a great young overseas athlete who is just getting better and better and rising, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Eugene, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure to have the opportunity to be able to be on your show, man.
It's a lot of fun to talk to a young player who's really, your story is so unique because you're like a rising star. Like, you're just getting better and better and higher and higher. And that shit's hard to do overseas. Like, it's not easy. Like in the NBA, you're kind of on a team and you're able to keep going and going because you're used to the system. Overseas, it's a completely different ballgame. You have to adapt and adjust so to be a rising star is way more difficult.
Yeah, you have to adapt immediately. You have to adapt to the playing style of the team. You have to adapt to the country immediately.
It is wild how that works. You've obviously started off your journey. The coolest thing that I found out, that I didn't know about you is you started as a baseball player. And, you were really a baseball player and that was your focus, and you changed to basketball and have been so successful with it.
Yeah.
How does that, like, just how do you start? First off, I love baseball, so I want to get into baseball. So what position were you?
I was a third baseman and a pitcher.
Nice. And that was like your main focus.
Yeah, at the time, definitely.
And you still played basketball, like you were still like involved in basketball, but baseball.
Yeah, I was still involved, but it was more like a recreational thing. It wasn't anything that I took seriously. It was just, if I see a basketball, I might shoot it for a little bit and then go out my day, go do something else. Yeah.
It's so funny. I always think, playing college and stuff, I always thought like high school and college, you had those guys come into the gym who didn't play and they would shoot and you'd be like, holy shit, this guy, there was like football players that I was friends with and I was like, they're so athletic. They're so, fast, quick. They have great hands. And then I watch them shoot a basketball and be like, what the fuck was that? Like, that's how you shoot a basketball?
The problem with football players. Like, they're usually strong. They can dunk. They can go finish at the basket. But when it comes to shooting, it's just bad.
It really is. I always say, like, basketball is the great equalizer because you just need athleticism, skill, coordination. It's like the whole package. I think there's like these big baseball and football players. Like, my roommates all played baseball in college, and they were just like, they sucked. But like, having that ability to kind of transition from those sports is just incredible.
Yeah.
And so you had so talk to us a little bit about your career. You're from New Jersey guy, and then you end up tell us your story of how you kind of got into basketball and how you transitioned that into overseas professional basketball. Because a lot of people don't know those stories, and these are the coolest stories, like that kind of underdog story.
Yeah. So I got into basketball at an early age. My sister was a basketball player in high school and in college. My dad was a basketball player in high school. So the basketball was around my family for pretty much my whole childhood. My parents didn't force me to play basketball, which was really a good thing, because maybe if my parents forced me to play basketball, it would have turned me off to not want to play. A lot of parents do that to kids, and then when they grow up, they don't want to play basketball anymore because their father was too hard on them, like, about basketball, making it to the next level. So I kind of had the choice to pick whatever sport I wanted to do. I was in a tough situation because I went to like 5 different schools before high school. So I went to one school in Jersey City from pre-K to 3rd grade. And then 3rd grade, I went to a Catholic school. And then after the Catholic school, I went to a public school for the first time. And then I went to another Catholic school after the public school. And then I went to another Catholic school before I went to high school. And throughout this time period, I wasn't playing no AAU. I never played AAU a day in my life. I'm one of the probably the few professional basketball players that never played AAU, not even one time, which is crazy. So there was no basketball being played around this time. It wasn't until middle school that I played basketball again in 6th grade. The Catholic school I went to had a basketball team, and my dad was actually able to get the head coaching job of the team. So it was pretty good having my father coach me and motivate me to play basketball. And after that year, I played basketball again for him. And then that's when I leaned more towards baseball, because the school I transferred to in 8th grade didn't have a basketball team. So I'm like, wow, I just started getting into basketball, and now the next school I transferred to doesn't have a basketball team. So that's when I started leaning more towards baseball. So I played baseball. Baseball was good. I never played baseball a day in my life, just picked up a bat and a ball and just played, and that was actually pretty good. So I liked it, and it was something that I might have considered doing until there was a situation where it was a teacher who said I was failing the class, and I really wasn't failing the class, but she told my parents I was failing and I got to get off the baseball team. I can't continue to play. So my parents took me off the baseball team, and then I just lost all interest in baseball after that. It was just like, it's just too many situations going on. Moving from school to school, I can never get established anywhere. I can't build any friendships with anybody, because as soon as I build a friendship with somebody, I leave and I move. So it was hard for me to develop friendships. It was hard for me to be stable, to be comfortable somewhere. I was never comfortable, constantly moving around to different environments and situations, which is why I think overseas is easy for me, because I've been moving around to different schools my whole life. So me going from country to country isn't too crazy.
I was going to say, as I'm listening, that's like the first thing that I always think of, because that is overseas basketball. You're never in the same place twice. And I think even now in my post-career life, you're kind of in the same place, and I start getting antsy. You're just kind of like, all right, I'm used to moving around. I'm used to the variety. And then suddenly you're just like in this thing, and you're like, this sucks.
Yeah. So just moving around is frustrating. So finally I go to high school. I'm like, okay, mom and dad, can I stay in this high school? I want to stay here. I don't want to keep moving around. This is high school we're talking about. So you don't want to keep moving around in high school. You're never going to build any friendships. That's the time, peak time for friendships, high school. So I go to high school, and I haven't been playing basketball, to be honest. I haven't been playing at all. But I'm like, you know what? It's something cool to do. I see a couple of my friends that I met playing basketball. Let me try it out. So I go to the tryout. I go there with a long sleeve sweater. I didn't have a t-shirt. I remember it. I'm like 5'1", skinny as I don't know what. Still athletic a little bit, but just athletic and in shape. Go there. I don't do too bad, in my opinion. There was some kids there that weren't that good at all, but apparently he didn't think I was good enough to make the JV team, and he cut me my freshman year. So this is the chapter of my life where I started taking basketball seriously, because I don't like rejection. And when I get rejected, it kind of motivates me to just do better. So I'm like, okay, he cut me. He gonna regret that. So that whole summer, I started playing basketball, just working out, going to the gym, shooting around in my backyard, never playing in any leagues, still not playing the leagues, still not playing AAU, just watching Paul Pierce, who's my favorite player, watching Kobe, watching LeBron, and just shooting around my backyard, doing drills. I go on YouTube, look up cone drills, look up ball handling drills, doing all types of stuff. Like no coach, no trainer, nothing, just me and my dad, who helps me out a little bit, like in the backyard. So boom, worked out all summer. Went there the following season, made JV. As the season went on, worked my way up to varsity that same season and started JV and played both. And then after that year, I started taking basketball a little bit more seriously. Then I made varsity my junior and senior year. But I don't think I was good enough to play at the college level. So I'm in a situation, I'm like, okay, I'm getting better, but I'm still like mediocre. I'm not really that good. College is no joke. When you go from high school to college, it's like, yeah, it's a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm still growing. At this time, maybe like 5'9", 5'10". You know, I was a late bloomer. So I'm like, man, I'm going to have to get it from the mud. I'm going to have to get it from the bottom. So I'm like, I'm going to JUCO, whatever. Like, I'm going to just try to walk on JUCO. Went to a JUCO, walked on. I was playing basketball that whole summer, so I was preparing to play JUCO and ended up making a team. I started off on the bench. probably like ninth man. First game of the season, he just threw me in because we were losing. I scored 10 points straight, and then made an article on it and everything. And then next thing you know, I worked my way up to like the 6th, 7th man. So I finished that season the 6th, 7th man, averaging about 10 points a game. It was cool. The following season, a couple of the players had left. So he threw me in the starting lineup. Go to the starting lineup, just start wilding. 30, 20, 25, just consistently just scoring at a high level. That was my breakout year for college. I felt like I couldn't miss that year. I was shooting like 42% from three, 90% from the free throw line, averaging like 17 a game. It was a really good season. But JUCO is not, 4-year school. So I think I'm doing something in JUCO, but it ain't nothing compared to a 4-year school. So now I'm looking for scholarships. I'm looking for a way for I could play for a 4-year school because you only play 2 years of JUCO. So I'm like, what do I do? So I look at a couple schools. I go to a couple open gyms, and I was offered a partial scholarship by a Division II school, but it wasn't enough to cover my tuition. I wasn't able to afford the rest of the tuition. So I'm looking towards more schools. And then one day I just come across NJCU, which is like a school where I grew up at. Like I grew up in Jersey City, the school's in Jersey City. So I'm like, it's local. I didn't want to go there because, you going to college, you're like, I don't want to be in the same place that I grew up in and I know everybody. And it's just, there's no growth. Like, you know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to go to a school out of state or somewhere where I'm like, all right, whatever. Go to the open gym. Coach is like, you want to try out for the team? I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. I got no other options. So I go there, and that's when I realized that college basketball is no joke. There's guys on my team. I'm like 19 years old. There's guys on my team like 30, 25, big, strong, athletic dudes. I'm like, all right, I got some work to do. So I came in on the team probably like 13th, 14th man. And it was rough. It was rough. And I had to learn how to become a really good defender. My school was like top 3 in the country in defense, and we were winning programs. So first year was more of like a learning experience. Second year, I actually got a decent amount of minutes. I still came off the bench, but I actually played pretty good, and I got more time than the previous year. So now college is finished. I graduated with my bachelor's degree in psychology. I'm like, I like basketball, but I got to get my education, but I want to play basketball. So it's like side of me is like basketball, side of me education. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try to do both. So this is when I went for my master's degree, and my head coach let me be on the coaching staff as a grad assistant to get my education. Because my mom was like, the chances you going professional right now are real slim. So you might as well have your education so you can have something to fall back on. So, and I'm only 22 at this time. So I'm still young. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just go get my master's degree. Actually, I think I'm 21. So go get my master's degree. So this is when I started playing in men's leagues. So I started playing in men's leagues, getting my confidence up. And I was killing everybody in the men's league. So I'm like, you know what? Like, I think I could do this basketball thing. So after I finished my master's degree, I found a trainer. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go for a trainer. I can elevate my game on my own, but a trainer can see things that I can't see.
Yep.
So went to a trainer who was actually really good, helped me out. I started playing in like better leagues. I started playing in like pro-ams or whatever, so I can play against more competition. And I started going to some combines for a league called the TBL that is a growing league. And I got invited to training camp for a TBL team. But then I got a call, and I got invited to play in Moldova overseas in Europe. So I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I worked my ass off that whole summer, like crazy, doing 2 days, 3 days, weight room. I used to wake up every morning at 5 a.m. and run 2 miles. I would go after that. I would go take a nap. I wake up and do shooting at LA Fitness or at Sportsplex by my house. And then I'll go to the trainer at 3 o'clock. And then after the trainer, I'll go to the weight room, eat my meals, and then relax for the rest of the day. And then I'll do my push-ups at night. I made a goal to do 600 push-ups a week, 1,000 sit-ups a day. 600 push-ups a day, 1,000 sit-ups a day, and 500 squats a day. Did that every day. That whole summer, I was still growing. Like I went from like I said, I was 5'1" in high school. I'm 6'2" now, so it was a big growth. Yeah, it was a big growth. So I was still growing after college. So, and then I got the offer to play in Moldova, so I took advantage of it. Got my flight out there, touched down, pretty good environment, very cold. Didn't know what to expect. They put me on a pretty decent club that needed me to score. So went in, and I had a successful season. Led the country in scoring. 39.5 points a game, like 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Shot 60% from 3 from the whole season.
That's crazy.
Shot, and shot about like 60% from the field. I was very efficient. That was a really good year for me. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was a low league. It wasn't the lowest league, but it was a low league for me to, put my foot in the door and build my resume. So the competition wasn't the greatest, but it was okay. But I still, did very well. So I'm not gonna downplay it, And it's in Europe, so it's respected. Like most clubs in Europe are respected compared to other, countries. So I did my thing, and then I went crazy over the summer, played in the pro-ams, scoring 30, 40 points. Got invited to play in pro-ams in other states, scoring 40 over there. This is my confidence at an all-time high. And playing in West Fourth, playing in all these leagues that's well known. And then got offered a contract to play in Armenia. So I go to Armenia in September. Way more competitive than Moldova and higher league. So I'm moving up. I averaged 21.5 points a game, 8.5 rebounds, and I led the league in free throw percentage at 96% with over 30 attempts. So I was top 10 in scoring and top 10 in rebounds. And that was a pretty good, first half of the year. So in the middle of that season, I got offered to play in Portugal, which I am right now. So I took advantage of that, better conditions, better opportunity. So I go to Portugal, and the first game I couldn't play because I wasn't cleared by FIBA. You got to get better. Yeah, so
yep, I remember that.
Bummed out. Yeah, and they lost. So I'm bummed out. So, and then I had to wait to the next game. Next game, I scored like 15 points in the first quarter and a half. I get hurt. As you can see, I got this on my shoulder. Yeah. I'm better now, much better now. But I run into a screen that nobody calls, and I sprained my shoulder. I sprained my AC joint. Never had a shoulder injury. So I'm like, damn. I didn't want to say anything because the coach, I'm doing good. And you know how it goes when you get hurt. You don't want to say nothing. So I'm playing the rest of that game hurt. I'm banged up. I finished the game with like 21 points and like 5 rebounds. Still did, pretty good. But it was a rough game. It was probably the most painful game I ever played. I had to play 2 quarters with a sprained shoulder and in a close game that we ended up winning. So it felt good, getting the win. And I just had my first game back from injury yesterday, and we won. I'm still not 100%, but I'm about 90%, and it's definitely getting better. The physiotherapist told me I don't have to go anymore unless I have some pain. I didn't have any pain. And yesterday I had 21 points as well. So right now I'm averaging about 21 points a game, and I'm just looking to keep progressing. And with us winning yesterday, we moved to the next phase in the Portuguese tournament. Nice. So, we move up. Like if you would have lost, the top 4 teams in every division go to the next round. I think we're in the North Division, so we made 3rd place. Then we go to the next phase against the other teams from the other parts of Portugal. If you would have lost, we play in the losers bracket, so we're moving up. And since being here, we won 2 games. So
that's crazy.
Yeah,
it is it's like such a success story to kind of hear these the stories where guys from big name schools. I always say they always had it easy because they would just go, their reputation or their college preceded them. So the late bloomers, the guys that grew late, same with me, there's a lot of guys that just developed later, and we went to a smaller school, and then we kind of had to show and work twice as hard as the guys from the big time schools to kind of grow. Yeah. But you're just bouncing up the chain, which is like really cool to see, especially after taking some, the late start and taking some time off. But you're just grinding, like you're just continuing to grind and put in the work and just getting better and better.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of work, a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears. But you know, I love it, and I wouldn't change my story any other way.
Hell yeah. That's the best kind of story, that underdog story. And you still have so much more to go, which is fun to kind of, we'll bring you on like, back again when you're playing in EuroLeague and, dropping 40 in EuroLeague. You'll be like, remember this?
For me to play in the EuroLeague, I want to be able to play there. So
I hell yeah. I listen with what you're doing right now and watching some of your videos and stuff, like your talent level is very high, and the confidence is such a big thing. And I think we talked a little bit earlier about how you're bouncing around. It almost helps now that you don't have that like mindset of some guys just don't like the overseas game because they can never get comfortable, and they're like they don't want to be in certain places. Like have guys like us, like we just like let's bring it, like bring us to the next spot,
my whole life, so it doesn't even mean anything to me being uncomfortable in uncomfortable situation. I feel like that's a part of growth. I feel like being uncomfortable helps you grow. So when you're comfortable, you become complacent, and you just stagnant. Yep. Yeah.
So we have these 3 questions we're asking at the end of each player profile. So favorite country you've played in. It doesn't even not even just like not even the like a league that you played in, but favorite country that you've actually been in that you've played in.
My favorite country is probably Portugal so far. Like even though I only been here for about a month and change, I love it here.
Yeah, Portugal it's an incredible place. I'm thinking like tropical. It's a good environment.
Weather's nice, the people are nice, and the basketball is good. It's very aggressive. Basketball is very aggressive. I was getting beat up yesterday. They didn't call nothing. I shot a mid-range jump. I shot a mid-range pull-up. Somebody smacked me in the side of my head right in front of the referee. I made it, but they didn't call the foul. Oh, it was crazy.
Some of that European game, I don't miss it because you just get tackled sometimes. And just be like,
they want to beat me up.
Oh yeah.
Like when it comes to Americans playing overseas, they're on it. They play extra aggressive defense. They face guard you. I mean, I love it because it's funny. Because like they know they can't stop me, so that's why they do that.
Yeah, and it's like they get up for those games when they're playing a good American because they're just like, all right, like, and everyone thinks, I think overseas, over even foreign guys, they think that somehow someone in the NBA is always watching the American guy, so they're like, watch what I'm going to do versus American guy. I'm going to try to work him, and you're like, no one's fucking watching me.
About to get a contract to the G League by getting a stop on me for one play.
That's smacking me in my head.
Yeah.
Least favorite country you played in?
Armenia.
Yeah. Listen, trust me, I played in Kosovo. Like some of those areas are a little rough.
Yeah, it's just like they're not really too fond of colored people. That's the best way. Like they look at us as lower than them.
Yep.
They're not friendly. They're not really the most friendly people.
It is. We have a whole episode this season coming up on racism overseas, and it's something that people don't even realize. Like the struggles of it's almost like some of these countries, it's going back in time, and you're like, how are people treating people like this? I saw it firsthand, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And it's just a wild thing, and people don't even realize that struggle that a lot of guys face going overseas. Like it's not even really mentioned. It's like, oh, the fucking pay and this, and like no one really talks about how crazy the racism is for some of these guys to come overseas, and like even their own fans. Like I've had our own fans turn on some of our players and say some racist shit to them, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like what is this? Like where are we? Like what is this right now? So that's some crazy shit. And Armenia, I can imagine.
Yeah. It's crazy over there. It's crazy. They got good food. They got some good, tourist sites. And the younger people that are in their 20s, they're cool. It's the old generation of people there that are so used to the old ways of life, and they don't see any growth. And when they see people like me, they just look at me like, why is he here?
Yeah. You're right. The young people are way more, they understand shit.
Understand things. They're used to the diversity. You know what I'm saying? These old people are very traditional, and they're not diverse. They're more segregated with their people.
I always talk about that when, like, you know, people talk about, you know, America. I'm like, America has problems because, like, we're fucking different. Like, everything's different in America. Like, there's all these different things. Like, you go to you go to Poland and everyone looks the same. Like, you go to like these countries and everyone looks the same, and people don't understand that. Like, everyone looks the same, and you're just like, nope, nope, nope. Like, everyone's the same. So when something's different, people are like, what the fuck? And that's something people don't understand.
They don't like change.
Exactly. So last question, what country do you want to play in? What's the country that you're like, hell yeah, like, this is where I want to go. This is where I want to play in. Not that there's anything against Portugal, but like,
yeah, I probably want to go to either Spain or Germany. Yeah, I think Spain is a way that you can level up in the overseas world very well. I've seen a lot of people grow their basketball resumes from playing in Spain. It's a very respected country, and it has a lot of good leagues.
There's a lot of, that's a big NBA pool
if you put
players,
you know, your resume and you try to go to another job, they'll be like, okay, you played in Spain? Okay, let me see your film. All right, we'll consider you.
It's such a great point.
Yeah.
Well, Eugene, this has been awesome. You know, hearing your story, having, you know, sharing your voice, which is what we're trying to, you know, do here at Overseas Famous, share the athlete's voice, and your voice is a powerful one, and your voice is, you know, such an incredible one, and your basketball resume is speaking for itself, and you're just growing and growing, and, you know, we're psyched to have you on. We can't wait to see where you're going.
Yeah, man, I'm doing my best. I'm gonna keep grinding. I'm gonna keep inspiring those all around the world.
I love it. Well, you're inspiring us, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much, Eugene.
Thank you, man.